it looks like we figured out how to rebound. So.
Happy Wednesday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by my passenger princess. That's right, Erik Ruby is here today. We got the Woolly Woolbrecht behind the Mac making all of that sweet, sweet magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Rubis, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth himself. Looks like Arizona State figured out how to rebound the Sun Devils fresh off a 9-point victory last night over Oklahoma State, 85-76. Wait, you hear that? It's the streets telling me that Bobby Hurley and Arizona State are so back.
Man, okay, this is going to be a really interesting episode because man, okay. So in our diehard Discord, I don't want to say like tension because I don't think there's ever tension in there, but I think it was Steven in there who was like, I'm rooting for ASU basketball to like turn it around. They're like a on the bubble team, and like I'm rooting for them so that like, are you guys gonna be like angry if they start winning? And I feel like we need to like clarify something here. We want ASU basketball to be good. I just
the fact that needs a clarification, I think, is awesome.
But seriously, man, like, and he referenced that he didn't agree with our grades of an F on the program, but it's like, again, which we should clarify again for people who didn't get it, but it's like, it's the program as a whole. Like the facilities are terrible. Did you see how many people were at DFA last night?
Probably about as many that are in our office today, which is less than 10.
Yeah, and again, I hate that. Like, it's so funny because just because we disagree with the direction the program is in and that we don't think it's in a good spot and that we want changes to happen does not mean that we're going into a game against Oklahoma State and being like, God, I hope ASU loses tonight. No, yeah. No, we want ASU. We want ASU to win. We want ASU to make the tournament. We want Arizona State men's basketball to be good. I want Bobby Hurley to be good. Like, I'm rooting for Bobby Hurley, but I'm also an objective analyst who watches and loves basketball. And as somebody who feels that way, it is hard to stomach where this program is, especially knowing what it could be. And so I just want that to be clarified, that we are not rooting on the downfall of any specific coach, player, or program at Arizona State University. However, Totri, if somebody knows us, whether they're a viewer or in real life, we don't beat around the bush. If something is bad, we will tell you that it is bad, and I love that they picked up a win against Oklahoma State, but brother, Arizona State men's basketball is in a bad place.
Yeah. I think it's important to clarify that. And I do think it's funny because I don't always, I'm going to be honest, I don't usually ever think about what other people think about like us, if that makes sense, in the way that we view things sometimes. Like when we talk and we go through these shows and have conversations here or elsewhere about ASU sports or athletics, I don't ever have like the thought in my mind of like, maybe someone thinks that I'm actively rooting against. Like, no. Like, I don't actively root against Arizona State sports, any of them, regardless of the way maybe it looks or it's construed or some of the shows go. I want this program to be successful, and we'll get into more of what that could look like down the stretch. But I think before we get too deep into that, I think we do need to talk a little bit about what went down last night at DFA for Arizona State. Again, dropping 85 points on Oklahoma State's head, getting a win there. Really, I'm going to say dominating most of the game. I believe they led for about 85% of that game. Let's go ahead and take a look at some key numbers from Arizona State's latest Big 12 win. Of course, Eric, the only number that matters is that final score. Again, the Sun Devils outdueling the Cowboys 85-76. The Cowboys did shoot slightly better from the floor, just 42.8% to the Sun Devils 40 on the nose. 3-point land, more of the same for the Sun Devils, getting outshot from behind the arc, 23.8% for Hurley's squad to 38.1% for Oklahoma State. Here's a big one, though. Crashing the glass and rebounds. ASU been bad at it all year. They out-rebounded Oklahoma State 45-34, and then this one turned into a free throw contest at the end. ASU with 35 free throw attempts, 28 makes, actually a really solid free throw percentage for the Sun Devils. Oklahoma State shooting 27 attempts and making 20 of those. Anything stick out to you here, Rubus? I feel like I'm going to ask that question. There is easily something that does.
Can we play the cold open again?
We could play the cold open again. Go ahead, Noah.
You know, it looks like we figured out how to rebound. So.
The laughs kill me, dog. The laughs kill me. But look, it wasn't just the rebounding, it was an effective rebounding. You look at the percentage that ASU shot from the field and from three, and again, like, those aren't winning percentages, but what is a winning number is 19 offensive rebounds to 10. You almost doubled up on the and you still out-rebounded them on the defensive rebounding side as well. And if you are a team in Arizona State that is hot and cold from deep, doesn't always shoot the best percentage, and honestly doesn't have one singular go-to guy, like last night was, you know, kind of death by 1,000 cuts, and that's great, right? Do you know how many players scored in double digits for ASU last night? 8 played total.
Wow. 8 played. I'm going to go ahead and say double figures. Give me 5.
Yes, 6.
Wow.
And Bryce Ford only played 7 minutes last night, right? Didn't play a complete game. And so out of everybody who played at least double-digit minutes, all but one scored double-digit points. And the guy who didn't was Alan Mukeba, who had 6 points and 7 rebounds, 4 of them offensive rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal. It was an all-around thorough win from a community standpoint, but it was a community basketball win. It wasn't Masamba Diop going out there and putting the team on his back, although there were moments. It wasn't Santiago Truett going out there and putting the team on his back, although there were moments, right? It wasn't, oh man, Pig Johnson, was just going crazy and scored 20 plus, although he had moments, right? There were so many different players who helped get them to this win. Truett did have a double-double, 16 points and 10 rebounds. Mo Odom grabbed 7 rebounds, one of them offensive, as the smallest dude on the court. That is a team that found a commitment to that. Now, can they make that their identity? I don't know.
Probably not.
I mean,
probably not. Let's just call it what it is. Probably not.
Right. And we'll get into this conversation later where it's like consistency is the problem with this team, but like, it's a lot easier to make an identity based off of, okay, everybody's going to do their part. Like, yeah, Diop was hooping. Diop's always hooping. Like, Truett had a really good game, right? Like, Mo Odom, like I mentioned, had a good game. Grabovich didn't shoot that great, but still had an okay game. Still got
made an impact.
In 25 minutes. And so for me, like, it's not about just this one win, although they should be given credit for this one win. It's, can you string this together now in Big 12 play? Because I don't think the tournament is on the table as in, March Madness. I think they've dug themselves too big of a hole with some of their losses early on. But that doesn't mean that you can't restore at least a little bit of a better feeling. But if you go out and, you don't capitalize on this win in your Arizona State, like if you go out and just get absolutely out rebounded and dominated by, Texas Tech, who's a really good team, does last night's win matter as much? No. But for what last night was, Totri, a good commitment to the boards, a good commitment to team basketball, and they beat a good Oklahoma State team.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think we've seen this trend where ASU will lose kind of like a heartbreaker in theory, and then Bob will go say some stuff in front of a microphone post-game, and we're up here, and other folks are probably like, what the hell is he doing? And then the following game, the same things that he notes were horrendous, the team goes and fixes them. Right against Colorado, the rebounding stuff went viral, and now there's obviously a commitment to being able to rebound, and that's exactly what played such a big part in ASU's win last night against Oklahoma State. I think another big part of that win, talking about team basketball, is the fact that they forced far more turnovers than they had. I believe they forced 17 turnovers to just committing 11 on their own end. So they didn't have to necessarily worry about playing so much transition defense, something that Oklahoma State offensively does really well. Bobby touched on it post-game, that is something that Oklahoma State does like really well as a team. But I think, again, talking more individually about some of these players, you bring up Truett, Mo Odom, Grabovich, again, somebody that didn't necessarily have the greatest scoring evening by any means, but ultimately just watching the game certainly had an impact, right? Whether he was credited for assists or not, just overall like moving the basketball. This is what you need, right? And I feel like a broken record at times coming up here and saying this is the type of performance ultimately that you need on an offensive and defensive basis night in and night out to be competitive in this conference. Because let's call it what it is. Like, the star power on this team is not what it is in Arizona. It's not what it is on a BYU. It's not what it is at a Tech or an Iowa State or a Houston, right? You have to play team basketball night in, night out if you want to be competitive in this conference. And what has really gutted this team at times, aside from the fact that, hey, they're inconsistent on the glass, right? Having one of, if not their best performance in terms of out-rebounding an opponent in conference play just last night against Oklahoma State. Not only do they shoot piss poor from behind the arc, which, again, they did last night, didn't matter though, right? Only hitting 5 of 21 from behind the arc. Ultimately, you'd like to see a significant jump in that. But when you have kind of what you led with, when you have players sharing the basketball and maybe just feeling it a little bit, right? Truett, 16 points. Odom with 13, still dished out a couple assists. Grabovich with 11. Jop, 17. Pig Johnson with 10. Miusin with 12. Alan Mukeba, like you said, not the most points in the world, but 6, and then had 7 rebounds, right? Like, ultimately, when you get a performance like this, where it is team basketball, regardless of how many players you're ultimately throwing out there on a night in, night out basis, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat ASU. Now, what makes it hard to beat some of these other teams when they have nights like this is they get the fan turnout, right? And I'm not going to sit here saying, go support ASU men's basketball and go spend your hard-earned money on it, right? Because I don't think one win ultimately should factor that much into it. You need to see what you said, a consistency. You need to see this team string together wins, right? And we'll have the conversation a little bit later on in the show about ultimately what does the future hold for this season? Can they ultimately salvage it? But before we do any of that, I wanted to hit on this game because I do think there's a lot of folks that watch the show, listen to the show, that genuinely think we don't want to see ASU men's basketball succeed. I'm happy they didn't blow this one last night. I'm happy they were able to get this win at home in front of those diehard ASU basketball fans that ultimately did show up and spend their hard-earned money to see Sparky get a dub last night, because they deserve that. Because a lot of what ASU men's basketball has been in conference play for the last 2 seasons has been a joke. So for them to last night respond the way that they did after a loss to Colorado over the weekend, I think, again, shows what this team is about, that they are a squad that's not going to give up, that they're not going to just take it lying down, that they don't see these last 6 games now, or 7 at the time before last night, as just like, let's get through it, let's go through the motions, and then we could be on to greener pastures, whatever the future may hold. This team wants to fight, they want to win, and that's exactly what you got out of the Sun Devils last night.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that earlier in the season too, right? And again, we weren't diving in super in depth to what was going on earlier in the season, but we were giving them their credit as far as, hey, this is a fun team. Hey, they are better than we expected, right? But the rails did come off around the time that we expected the rails to come off, right? And you look at last night's game specifically, where it's not just the rebounds, but yeah, maybe they weren't even moving the ball that well, but when you play basketball, right? They had 10 assists to 11 turnovers. When you play basketball, sometimes you make a good pass that sets up another person to score that's not an assist. Or it's harder for defenses to kind of game plan when everybody's able to go and get their own. And yes, that was last night, but I think the tough thing about all of this is, like you said, we can't tell people to go and show up to DFA. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, right? But it does cost money to get in. This team has not consistently put a product out there, and a lot of the times, like our frustration with the team, I think the show that we did about Bobby Hurley's post game comments and laughing, but also kind of like, hey, this shouldn't be happening about that. Earlier this week, the continued frustration for the last couple of years. Like again, this is not a new development here. This is not a new conversation that we've had. We've had this conversation, rinse and repeat, for every single year of Bobby Hurley, basically post COVID. And so the reason why we are so, I guess I would say, outspoken on the negative side of things is because from a fan perspective, it is frustrating. Like, it is frustrating to me that my first thought after beating Oklahoma State, and I can't control this is just where my brain goes, is, well, that's a nice win. I wonder how they'll squander that goodwill. And I hope I'm wrong. I am rooting for myself to be wrong. But unfortunately, as a fan, I have installed a safeguard into my brain for this team that does not allow me to get pumped up and excited about them. And that maybe isn't fair to this current group of guys. And I'm sorry, because I do like a lot of the players on this team, and I like how a lot of them play. And they do play hard, and they don't give up. But this program has just kind of like burned this fuse in my brain that supplied hope. Like that, I cannot muster that up anymore. And look, Oklahoma State's a big win. It's a good win. Oklahoma State's a good team. They're not a Kansas. They're not an Arizona. They're not a Texas Tech. They're not a Houston. And I don't say that to demean the win, but I'm just saying when you're in the Big 12, it's almost harder for you to muster up that hope. So one game above 500 is better than being below 500. And you do have some opportunities to pick up some wins against other teams that are lower in the Big 12 standings, like Baylor later this season, and Utah again. So hopefully they can still pick up a couple more wins. But I mean, we can get in the conversation after the break about can they salvage the season. I'll just be honest with you. We could talk about what they could do and what they would have to do. My initial thought is just immediately no. And maybe that's unfair to this team, but that's just the PTSD from being an Arizona State men's basketball fan right now. And maybe other people don't feel the way that I feel, but that's how I feel.
Well, let's have that conversation on the other side of our first break.
Totri, no UFC this weekend, but you can still indulge with our friends over at Pure Edibles. For all of our ASU fans in here, of course, all three founders of Pure Edibles are ASU alumni, and it's why they're so innovative when it comes to the edible game, because Pure, they clearly list their effects on every single tin. So if you want to be sleepy, guess what? You know that you're going to be sleepy. You want to be uplifted, relaxed, balanced, whatever it is you're trying to feel, Pure Edibles is going to help you get there. It's not just indica, sativa, hybrid, which can kind of leave you up in the air on how it's actually going to make your body feel. Pure offers gummies for sleep support as well as candies for uplifting effects, all derived from unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC. Plus, they're designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable or easy to dial in your exact dose. I would recommend, if you are new to edibles or you're just getting back into it, start low, go slow, and then work your way up to fully enjoy our friends over at Pure Edibles. Of course, founded by ASU alumni and hopefully consumed by ASU alumni as well. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
Look, we have partners here at PHNX that try and help you save money. We have partners here at PHNX that give you a chance to win money. But today we're going to be talking about a partner here at PHNX that has a place where you can put your money. That's right. We're talking about Mountain America Credit Union, more specifically their MyStyle checking account. This isn't like your traditional checking account. This one's got built-in benefits and perks just for you. With the MyStyle checking account, you guys can enjoy restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and more. Make sure you visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Also, if you are an Arizona State fan, an Arizona State supporter, well, I'll tell you what, Mountain America Credit Union, they are as well. We told you all football season how Mountain America Credit Union was going the extra mile to support student athletes, again, specifically at Arizona State as well. So visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits required require no cost registration/activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Raymond in the chat says, winning greater than losing, 1,000%. Look, we know how Erik Ruby felt about ASU's win last night, but let's take a listen as to how Bobby Hurley felt about getting a win instead of a loss against Oklahoma State.
It feels good to win. We've had other games that, the UCF game and a couple that you wish you could have gotten, and maybe, your record in the standings is a little bit better, and then you have a chance to, to inch forward. But we still have 6 games left, and, we got to just treat it that way and see how many of these we could get, to close it out.
So the question is, Erik, how many do they get to close it out? Because they started with 7 left, and the conversation, we even threw it in the Dire Discord of how many do they get. Nobody thought that they would get more than 3 to 4 wins out of their next 7.
Okay, so 6 games left. Half of those games are against teams in the top 16, 2 of them in the top 10, okay? So you have Texas Tech next. That's at home. That's 9 p.m. Next Tuesday.
Big 12 after dark.
Big 12 after dark. So you got a little bit of time until that one next Tuesday. Taking on Texas Tech at home. I'm going to say that's a loss. Okay? Next, you're on the road at TCU. TCU currently 15-9, 5-6 in conference. Kind of comparable to Oklahoma State, who after last night is 16-8, but 4-7 in conference. Now, it is your one of 2 road games in this 6. I will say that one's up in the air, and we can maybe debate that one in a second, but I don't think that's an auto loss, right?
Sure.
Then you have Utah at home. Utah is a team that you have beaten on the road. They only have 1 win in the Big 12 currently, and they're 6 games under 500. That should be a win. If you're looking at 1 game for the rest of this season, that should be a win. It should be that one. Oh, sorry. I missed at Baylor before at TCU. It's Texas Tech and then at Baylor on the 21st. Baylor is a
road game.
It's a road game. They're above 500, but again, they're 3-9 in Big 12 play. And so they're around where ASU is in Big 12 play, around where ASU is. That and TCU, I would say, are toss-ups. Utah should be a win. And then you're home against Kansas and road against Iowa State. There's only 1 game in there that I would say Arizona State should win that game, and that is Utah. And then there are 2 that are a toss-up. I think best case scenario is you split 3 of the next 6. Realistically, you could go 1-5.
So you don't see it as going on a win streak, is what I'm hearing. No, that would be a no for all the audio listeners based off of Rubis's face. And that would be the natural response of this conversation in question of, hey, can Arizona State turn 1 win over Oklahoma State into a win streak, right? Because we had this conversation, and it was brief in the Dire Discord, and it was part of my tweet earlier. Arizona State can get into the NCAA tournament. I believe that, like, full-heartedly. If the Sun Devils win out, if they win their next 6, they will have ended the regular season on a 7-game win streak. In that win streak, you will have a win against a ranked Tech team. You'll have a win against a ranked Iowa State team, and a win against, you're right, a top 5 team at the time, right now, right? We'll see what happens down the stretch. A ranked Iowa State team and a ranked Kansas team. Some of the best teams in the country, right? So if they win, let's make that clear. If they win their next 6 games, you will see Arizona State in the NCAA tournament. That will happen. Crazy that that's a conversation, but that is the nature of the beast of the Big 12. The same way that we could sit here and say that this team has gotten absolutely spanked throughout this season in conference play, we can say on the opposite end, well, all they really got to do is win the next however many. And again, sounds probably easier than it is, right? Because here's a fun fact. In the 2 seasons that Arizona State has been in the Big 12, they have never won back-to-back Big 12 games. Has not happened. Not last season, not this year. Has Arizona State won one game in the Big 12 and then played another Big 12 opponent and won? They have not done so. So, sitting here saying they're going to win 7 in a row feels like pigs are going to fly, right? That very well could be the case before Arizona State is able to string together a bunch of these wins, especially considering it's probably not likely that you go into next week's game saying, hey, this is your opportunity to win back-to-back games for the first time in the Big 12. Oh, the opponent just so happens to be number 16, Texas Tech, right? So,
well, let's get something clear. Pigs do have to fly for them to win, because literally Pig Johnson has to play really, really well for them to – I mean, they have to play perfect, and
yeah.
Beyond just the first of all, I didn't know the back-to-back thing, and that's – it makes a lot of sense, and it goes back to the point that I was saying before in the first segment. But when you look at this team, and when you look at most Bobby Hurley teams, like, except for pre-2020, like, you never had those huge runs, right? You'd have big wins, but would you have huge runs? Not really.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a staple of Bobby Hurley's teams have been, you'll have a big win, so maybe you do beat a Texas Tech, right? Maybe you do beat a Iowa State. Maybe you do beat a Kansas. But usually that's paired with what, Totri?
A heartbreaking L.
To a bad team.
Usually.
Like and again, I'm sorry, but not sorry, right? This is coming
You have
from
no reason to apologize. Don't apologize. This team hasn't given you any reason to apologize. All they do is they're inconsistent, and they don't find ways, like they find more ways to lose games than win games. Don't apologize for this team being inconsistent, right? Because yes, is it awesome that they beat Oklahoma State last night? That's fantastic. But we're not in this team, in this program, are not in the market of like, hey, it's just nice to win one, right? Like that meme. No, that's not why you play this sport. That's not why you invest as much money as you do into this program. It's not, as a fan, why you spend hard-earned money on these games. It's not to sit there and be like, hey, Dad, guess what? We went to the Oklahoma State-Arizona State game, and they finally won one, right? Like, that's not what you want to do. That's not what the fan base wants. So I will not accept your apology for this team, for this program, of like doubting them, because they have given you every reason to doubt them. Like, in fact, they've never won in 2 years, Erik, 2 full seasons, never won 2 games in a row in the Big 12. So no, you have no reason to apologize. This team doesn't know how to be consistent, right? And maybe I'm taking a page out of Hurley's book, going up to the microphone and just giving you bulletin board material. Do it. Do what you haven't done, what you've been incapable of doing for more than 365 days. Beating a team in your conference twice. This conference has owned you. It's what they've done. Cool, you beat the Oklahoma State Cowboys. A week from now, you're going to have the number 16 team in the country at your place. Probably not in front of a large fan base. Probably not going to happen, right? It's just facts. Go beat them. Go beat them. Go prove us wrong. And I'm sure you don't give a diddly shit what we have to say. But that's the reality of the situation. If you are truly the people that we think you are, of what we said earlier, they don't give up, they don't quit, they don't stop till that final whistle, then go out there and do it. Go win another Big 12 game. Hell, go win 7. Right? Make us eat our words. I would love to sit up here at the end of the year and say, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong. They did it. They threw it in my face. This team's a tournament team. They turned it around. They're the definition of consistency at the end of the year. I would love to say that. For those that think for some reason think otherwise, I don't know why that impression is stuck with you, but I want them to win. Erik wants them to win. They haven't given us any reason to believe that they can do it more than once at a time. That's just the truth.
Well, not only have they not won back-to-back games in Big 12 play, do you want to know how many times they've had a losing streak of 4 or more games?
Oh, God. Over the last 2 seasons? 4 or more games. 4?
3. But 2 of those were 5 and then 6-game losing streaks. Now, to their credit, the longest Big 12 losing streak they've had this season is 3. So that is what we call improvement. Okay, that is what we call a step in a positive direction.
Things you love to say after year 11 of a head coach.
And look, and there is realistically, I don't want to say an excuse, but a conversation to be had about having to play in this conference, right? You look at this season.
I don't know, man.
No, I get it. You've played number 9 BYU, number 1 Arizona, number 7 Houston, then number 1 Arizona again. 4 times this season you've played top 10 teams in the country, right? And you have 2 more at the end of it. Now I get it. This is the conference that you're in. This is the grade that you're going to be given is based off of your competition in conference. But again, if you don't even prove that you can knock off one of those teams, then nobody's going to believe that you could do it at the end of the season. And sorry, not sorry, but like, do you know what Arizona State's best win in the Big 12 has been in their time here?
Have they even beaten a ranked team in this conference?
They have beaten 1 ranked team.
Is it? Oh man, it's definitely not. It's not this year. It's a last year win.
Last year on the road
at. Oh God, let's take a shot in the dark.
The number 23 ranked team in the country.
UCF.
No.
No idea then.
West Virginia.
I forgot about that last year, yeah. They did do that.
So they lost to BYU by 20 in their first game of Big 12 play. Then they beat Colorado by 20. So it was a 20, then a 20. You're like, oh, okay. Then it was L to Kansas, L to Baylor, L to UCF, L to Cincinnati. Then pick up a big win on the road at number 23 West Virginia. But they can't string together 2 wins in a row because you want to know where they went next? Well, they went back home and they played number 3 Iowa State, right? They beat Colorado twice last year. That's 2 of their Big 12 wins where they ended up with, I believe, 4. They had 2 of the 50% of their Big 12 wins last year were against Colorado, right? This is a team that's lost to Colorado twice this year. Like the Big 12 is brutal. And even
that's what you signed up for.
It is.
You signed up to play in the bet. Like, would we be sitting here if like ASU football was in the SEC and they like were getting bludgeoned every week? No, we wouldn't sit here. You can't feel sorry for your team or sorry for yourself because they got to play tough teams time in and time out. Like, that's where you're at. It's the teams you're playing. If you can't be to that level of competition, then enjoy sitting on the floor. Enjoy being the laughingstock. You can't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry that you got to play Colorado at Colorado and then go to BYU and then go to Houston and then come home against Arizona. It's a soft way to look at it.
Just saying. It's more painting a picture, not giving them an excuse, because you're right. Like, they did sign up for it. And you know what? Maybe Bobby didn't sign up for it. But I do remember.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe he did it.
I do remember hearing from Bob, not personally, but in an article that's over at gophnx.com from a couple of years ago about how like going to the Big 12 kind of like awakened this like fighting spirit in him, right? ASU was notoriously a team that played to their competition. You can't really say that in the Big 12. They're not a team that plays to their competition.
No.
Now, yeah, they'll have a game where they'll compete like they competed against Arizona. Cool. It's a rivalry game. It's a little different. You don't get as much credit for that because rivalry games, you throw everything out the window. Now, it was the number 1 team in the country. They lost, right? An impressive loss, still a loss, still an L.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So can they salvage the season? The answer is yes. They can. They have the opportunity to do so. Will they salvage the season is just as easy as an answer for me. No.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. More Arizona State hoops talk on the other side of our final break.
I need you to write down this number right now. 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841. Because if you ever find yourself in a situation after a serious accident or you're injured, you're going to want to make sure that you have the number to the husband and wife law team, a number to a team that brings hundreds of years of combined trial experience with multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. Now, by the way, a certified specialist in the State Bar of Arizona is less than 1% of all lawyers here in the state. That's a big deal, but it's not just about how experienced they are. It's about how human they are as well. They know that this is going to be the most difficult time of your life. They want to help make everything easy by guaranteeing that you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason, guaranteeing that you'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, and guaranteeing that you may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose. So if you've had a serious injury, the choice is clear. Call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you.
Look, tomorrow is a big, big day. And if you're asking yourself why, well, it's because Thursday, February 12th, that's right, tomorrow is an Inner Circle Fuel Day. But what does that mean? Well, it means if you are fully enrolled as an Inner Circle member, you guys can save up to 40 cents per gallon all day at participating Circle K locations. Again, Thursday, February 12th, a big Inner Circle Fuel Day, and it doesn't cost you anything to sign up to be an Inner Circle member. All you got to do is go to the App Store, download the app, enter your email and phone number. That's it. You are going to be a part of Circle K's free membership program that helps you save money every day, not just on Inner Circle Fuel Days, but literally every time you pull up to the pump, you guys can save money. And of course, they have great deals on snacks and drinks seemingly every day as well at participating locations. So make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Again, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Interesting point here by Will saying salvage is a subjective statement. What constitutes salvaging? A madness bid, winning 3 to 4 games, a ranked upset. What would constitute a salvaged season for you, Erik?
I know that I'm supposed to be the guy with the answers here. I don't even know, man. I want to say, oh yeah, make the tournament. That seems like a pretty good bar.
But that's where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, but it's and then if they lose in the first round of the tournament, if they're the last 4 in, right? And then they lose again, or are we? I mean, I guess we're happy about it. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but yeah.
Again, this is where people get the they want to see ASU fail when you say that type of stuff. I think that's more so where they get that notion from.
Don't take it from me. Take it from JJB in the chat. It literally just says not going to happen.
Who is an ASU basketball sicko.
And who is an eternal optimist, usually. But he follows up and says, I'd say a good run in the Big 12 tourney, maybe a good NIT college basketball crown run. Yeah, that'd be great. But is that...
I don't know if great's the word I'd use.
And that's the thing is salvaging... salvaging as far as
salvaging is where we look back 5 years from now and we say, man, you know what? That was actually a decent season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what JJ said, right? But salvaging in the terms of are we looking bigger? Are we looking at Bobby potentially saving his job, changing the perspective?
That would take, I mean, again, you talk about pigs flying. That takes an NCAA tournament. That's not if Bob wants to save his job, he needs to make a run in the tournament, not just get to the tournament. Getting to the tournament does you nothing. You have to win games with an S in the NCAA tournament if Bobby Hurley is going to get an extension. I have stood on that for the last 365 days, that is what needs to happen. That is how it is viewed right now, from my understanding, is if Bobby Hurley's going to be back, it's going to take a trip to probably the Sweet 16.
Let's get into La La Land real quick here.
I'll eat a shoe, dog. I will eat a shoe.
So this is I would say not good for what I said led off the show is we don't root against ASU men's basketball. If the choice was let's just say this, ASU's in the tournament. Okay.
The NCAA tournament, not the NIT or the Crown, whatever, because I don't care about those.
They're in the tournament. Okay. And if Bobby wins one game in the tournament, he
He's
gets
not.
a 2-year.
He's not getting an
Okay.
extension.
No, but La La Land here. Let's
Okay,
say
you're right. La La Land.
He wins one game in the tournament. He gets a 2-year extension. He wins 2 games in the tournament. He gets a 3-year extension. What are you rooting for?
I want the team to go to the Sweet 16. That'd be cool. We haven't seen that, right? Yeah, I'd love that.
We haven't seen a tournament win.
That'd be history.
But it comes with an extension.
Then it comes with an extension. I don't care.
Okay. I was just curious of where your mind was at.
Yeah, no, I'll take that. I'll 1000% take that over the alternative, right? But again, you need to do something unthinkable. You need to win, right? To even get there, to even get to where we're talking, you have to beat all the teams that we just slated out in front of you. You got to beat the ranked Texas Tech. You got to beat the ranked Kansas, beat the ranked Iowa State. You got to beat Utah, beat TCU, beat Baylor, just to get there, right? And now, certainly a run in the Big 12 tourney would help, right? Win a couple more of those games, maybe build some more internal confidence in yourself. Maybe get you a little bit better of a situation going into the tourney. But like, that's the reality. For the folks that think that they can't get in the tourney, you're wrong. Again, it is this big of a chance. It's this big, right? For all of you on audio, when I use that voice, it means I'm going really small. Like, that's ultimately what it would take for this team to get to the tournament. And that is just where it starts. That is, at that point, then we can talk about a pen and a paper for a Bob contract with nothing written on it, by the way. That's just to get out. That's just to print the paper and get the pen. That's it. You win one game, then maybe you will put some stuff on it. But you got to win you got to do some things. Because we're not going to, that would be resetting the bar. Moving the bar is not what we're doing here in year 11. I can understand year 3, year 4, hell, year 6 maybe. You can maybe move the bar a little bit. But we went into this year saying what? You need a tournament, like Selection Sunday. Fans need to be sitting on their couch, and they need to not be asking themselves if we're getting in, but where and who they're playing. That needs to be how Arizona State fans feel going into Selection Sunday. It's not something that they've really ever felt over the last 11 years, even in the highest of highs for Arizona State. And this team, in this program, they're not there yet, right? And this is really going to be the last straw. The last time that we do this dance here of, well, maybe they can do something, right? Like, they have to do it. They have to do the same thing that we said was the bar at the start of the season. That's going to the tournament and winning games. Going and not doing shit is not going to suffice for anybody. Nobody, it'd literally be the same dance that they've done every other time they magically make the tournament. And I get it. This is a hard job. I want to point that out. Arizona State men's basketball, to be the head coach of this program, is a difficult job. Not many have succeeded in this position, right? Especially for as long as Bobby has. So that's worth noting, right? Being the Arizona State men's basketball coach, probably now more than ever in the NIL transfer portal era, is harder than it has ever been. But that doesn't mean that the standards of what fans should expect and want from their program should ever change. I don't believe that. I don't believe in, well, this is the potential, and you got to be happy with that. Because Arizona State football was in the damn college football playoff, dude. We're at the Peach Bowl up against Texas. Don't tell me what is possible, okay? J.J. Van Niel came in and injected life into the volleyball program, back-to-back Big 12 champions. Don't tell me that this is possible when it's, like, to quote your favorite dude, anything's possible, right? You can literally do anything. I get it's hard. I get it's difficult. And it's never been done. But it doesn't mean it's not possible, right? I don't care how hard the job is. Like, it's certainly possible. Is it a stretch? For sure. I'm not saying you should put money on it. I'm not saying that you should hold your breath thinking that it's going to happen. It's certainly possible.
It's possible. It is definitely able to be a lot better than it is right now. And that's the bar. My last question, I guess, is would Bobby Hurley want an extension?
My caveat to that would be like, who cares? I
No, but
think,
I'm just saying, like, if Arizona State, I mean, look, man, I'm just trying to make a conversation about it. Like
yeah.
like if Arizona State goes up to Bob and says, we'll give you a 1-year extension, or we'll give you one and, like, we'll have like an option to
He's not going to do a
renegotiate
1
at the
year
end.
again. He won't do another 1 year.
What do you do? Do you think, okay, 2-year extension, they say, here's a 2-year extension. We're going to reduce your pay a little bit so that we can maybe up our NIL, and we're going to give
Do
you
I
another
think
shot
Bobby
at this.
wants that?
Do you think that Bobby would take it?
I don't know, man. I don't. I have no
I don't
idea.
think so.
My gut says yes, just based off the fact that like I know he likes being in the Valley. He likes being the underdog, which he's always been here. But I don't know. Like and I've said it a number of times. I view this as like a toxic relationship at this point that is soured. And I don't know. I don't realistically know what he would accept. I think he still wants to be a Division I basketball coach. I think that is certainly something that he still wants to do. Whether it's here or if he wants a change of scenery, I don't know. Whether he's here or like wherever else, you're still going to have the same issues, right? It's not like we're talking about Bobby Hurley and Arizona State going on an NCAA tournament run and then all of a sudden a blue blood is calling, right? In the year 11 of his contract saying, we want you to run our prized possession here. Like that's not going to happen. Right. So like you're still going to have the same NIL issues. You're still going to have the same transfer portal issues. You're still probably, depending on where you go, going to have facility questions. Like none of that is going to change. And if anything, like the questions and the pressure are going to be that much more if you go to another school, right? Because then you're starting all over. Arizona State fans, at the very least, year 11, year 12, we probably know, like, when you go to the same restaurant a bunch of times, at a certain point, you stop trying new things and you find your favorite thing, and that's just what you're going to get, right? You don't even got to look at the menu. I'm like, I'm going to get this, right? That's the case with Arizona State fans and men's basketball right now. Like, they go into the season, they got a pretty good idea of how it's going to turn out. Now, if Bob does do the unthinkable and gets his team to the tournament and wins a game or two, and he does ultimately get a job at a bigger school or wherever, the questions are like, okay, we saw what you did last year in the toughest conference in the country. The expectations are different. You have to do something. Like their expectation is based off of what you did in your best season, right?
Yeah. Nan1 in the chat says, listen to yourself. All the issues, but it's Bobby's fault, right? I think we've both acknowledged that there are things outside of
I just
Bobby's
said it's a hard
control.
job, right?
Right. But let's also just be honest here. The coaching level of this team has not been up to par. Look, maybe this season's a little different because he's completely done something different, which is just completely throw his team under the bus after post games, and then his team responds. And maybe that should have been the Bobby method this whole time. But Bobby Hurley has notoriously not been a good in-game adjuster. Last season was an affront to basketball. And I get it. All the players, blah, blah, blah. Guess what, buddy? You built the roster. My brother, you made the sandwich, right? Like you were in charge of that. I don't think he is a good X's and O's coach. I think he's a good player relations coach. I think he's a good recruiter given his circumstances. I do not think that when it comes to in-game adjustments, having watched 11 years of Bobby Hurley, and my job is to cover basketball. Like I'm on a basketball show besides this. Like I watch a lot of basketball. I've watched a lot of basketball in my life. I have watched a lot of poorly coached basketball in my life. Bobby, as far as in-game adjustments go, has been one of the most frustrating basketball watches I've ever experienced. That being said, when his team is clicking because they like each other and because they like him, they've given me some of the most enjoyable moments in my basketball coverage and viewing. A lot of those moments happened over half of a decade ago. And so to me, I'm not saying that Bobby's completely lost to somebody who could be in this position or somebody that can't succeed in this position. But I do think there needs to be a certain infrastructure around him. And obviously he knows the game more than I do. He knows the game more than most. He's one of the best college basketball players of all time. But there's just not this relation as far as the X's and O's and the execution on the court for a vast majority of his time here. And you can disagree. That's fine. Like, I'm not here to tell you what to think or what to feel or what your takeaway is. But like, as somebody who spends an ungodly amount of time watching basketball, poorly coached to incredibly coached, there is certainly a side of the spectrum that Bobby Hurley teams consistently fall on, and it's not the latter.
Yeah, Nan one. I appreciate you being in here. I know you're in here a lot. You say he's a good coach. What makes him a good coach? What about the last 11 years make you believe he's a good coach? It's not like a rhetorical. I'd love an answer. I would love an answer to anybody that thinks that he is a good Division I basketball coach. And what would lead you to believe that? And I don't say that facetiously. It is, I genuinely would love a rock solid answer to that question.
I can answer some of the positive. Like, I can give you some positives about Bobby.
Positives, it's fine. Good coach.
Sure.
A good coach, not an average coach.
His players like him. Good coaches, the players like him, right? That's a good quality of a coach. I think his recruiting overall, given the circumstances in the NIL, has been above average. Again, last season it didn't work out, but you talk about the class that was coming in with Amir Ali, Jaden Quaintance, and Josan Sandin. Like, there was hope, right? Because you flipped a 5-star from Arizona. Quaintance, if he's healthy, is probably a top 5 pick, top 10 pick in a loaded draft. Right now, retention is also part of that, and retention has not been his strong suit since his early days. Guard you, and even then, like, you lose Remy for Kansas, who goes on to win a national championship, right? But like, he is good at getting talent in the building. He was better at it 7 or 8 years ago, but he's good at getting talent in the building. And what he's good at is when his players like him and when his roster fits, that can take him a decent amount, because there is something to be said about being a player's coach. And I do believe that Bobby Hurley is a player's coach. The problem is when you're just a player's coach, or from what I've garnered is just a player's coach, and there is not this indefinite basis of X's and O's. And like Z-Man says, and this has been a big problem for me, can you define a Bobby Hurley team, a play style? I really can't. Good coaches teams exude a style. Like, yeah, good talent, getting good talent is not the sign of a good coach. It's a good recruiter. And you got to be both in college basketball, right? But I'm talking about coaching. I'm talking about watching the game. Good vibes isn't coaching. Go out there and play basketball isn't coaching. The only thing that has actually garnered some semblance of adjustments on the court over the last, and let's say 5 years of Bobby Hurley, has been him calling out his team in post-game pressers. And JJ says fast break scoring and good presses. There are times where that happens. Yes. And maybe that's what happens more often than not. But again, I would not consider that a full-on identity of this team. I just wouldn't. Maybe that's what you see. Identity. I think that's what you see. They've never had an identity. Not. It's what you see more often than not. But as far as an identity, I think there is no identity. Like running gun up and down, like it is certainly something, but also like an identity usually leads to like positive results, right?
Consistent positive results.
And JJ says neither would I. I'm just saying shit. Like again, it's not like ASU loses every single game that they play or that they have for the last 11 years. Nobody's sitting here saying that Bobby hasn't had some of the highest highs this program has ever seen. We've all acknowledged that. Like this guy had me glued to my TV, you know, when I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, right? Before you could grow a mustache.
Yeah, well, that was like this year. But like,
but like seriously, like that's part of it. Like, I don't know how many people I have to, no, not the mustache. I don't know how many times we have to do this dance, and not just with you specifically, but often I have this conversation with folks that are in the other corner, that are in the corner of Bob's camp, right? Where you say, hey, this is a hard job. Look what he did in 2017. Dude, I don't give a rat's ass what happened in 2017. Ago. I don't. I don't care. I do not care what happened almost 10 years ago at this point in time. I could not actually care less what happened that long ago. You know why? Because great coaches, good coaches, they evolve, they change, and they often are good for long periods of time. You know what that same team did? That same team that was up to number 3 in the country, almost the last undefeated team in college basketball before, guess what? Your rival, you had to play Arizona, right? You know what that team did? They tripped over themselves in conference play, barely snuck into the tournament, and lost in Dayton because Bobby couldn't outcoach the Syracuse zone. That's what happened. That was the end of Trey Holder, Shannon Evans, Cody Justice. That was the end of the greatest team at Arizona State. One of the greatest teams in Arizona State history. So don't tell me what happened 10 years ago. I know what happened 10 years ago. I watched it. I was there. I was covering that team. It was fun until it wasn't, because they couldn't evolve. They couldn't simply just continue to shoot lights out and that was magically going to get them to a national championship. Hell, it could barely get them through a middle of the pack Pac-12. That's just the truth. So I'm tired of hearing, oh, he did this, he did all that. Cool, that's awesome. And when I was 16, I got my driver's license. And when I was 14, I went deep sea fishing. And now I'm 28, nobody gives a shit. Right? New accomplishments. There is new bars here. It's the truth. Okay?
And look, Nan1 says players matter. Yeah, brother. He builds the roster. Like, that's the thing, dude. Like, I get it, Nan1. I get it, man. I get it. Like, it's not been totally fair to Bob. But guess what? And I know people don't like the cross-sport comparisons, but it wasn't a fair situation for Molly Miller. She came in taking over a program in distress. Literally. Like the stories that we can't even share on air about what that program was going through. Like, to take over that program and to have them where they are, like, that's all time. Like, again, that's huge for Molly Miller to be able to do that, right? Greg Powers took a club team to D1. That's not, did you ever set foot in Oceanside, brother? Like it's not, he wasn't given the best facilities. Until like Mullet came around, he was given a bad hand of cards to play with and he hit the jackpot, right? Kenny Dillingham took over a program marred in embarrassment and sanctions.
A circus.
There was a sanction that was given out like 2 weeks before his first season for something that he had no part of. Like, again, like, I'm not trying to say it is apples to apples comparing to men's basketball, and that it's not just at Arizona State, but the best coaches succeed in different circumstances. Like, look, I have examples of things that I know and I experience and I've covered. I've covered all of those teams, right? I cover the Phoenix Suns this season. You go into this season, the Phoenix Suns have been dealt an absolute crap hand. But do you want to know what a good coach did? A good coach has taken that crap hand and turned it into one of the most fun teams in the NBA. Last season, a terrible head coach turned a great hand into one of the worst seasons I've ever watched with my own two eyes. The moral of the story is the cream rises to the top. Bobby ain't the cream anymore. That's the end of the story. If he was, we wouldn't be talking about the highlights being in the teens, right? The last time the majority of this fan base felt anything on the men's basketball court was the reverse dunk against TCU. And how many years ago was that?
Again, I don't know.
I wasn't working here yet.
This is what I'll say before we get out of here, Erik. Because Nan1's, I think we could do this dance.
I respect Nan1. I do
too.
Nan1.
I absolutely do.
Disagree.
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion here. In college sports, coaches matter more than players, in my mind. I think there are a few teams where that is very clear. I think you look at what Indiana just did, and hell, they won a national championship. Bunch of players that were on James Madison a couple years prior. Won a national championship in college football. And this is really going at your argument that different sports apparently have different, like, levels of, I don't know, like, exactly where you're going here, of standards maybe. There is not a ton of NFL talent on that team. You go back to ASU football when they made the college football playoff. Am I missing somebody, or is Cam Scatterbo the only guy in the NFL from that team right now?
Yeah.
were one of the last teams, right? JJ Van Neal in volleyball. Yeah, they've gotten a couple great players here or there, back-to-back championships. Like you said, Molly Miller. Great coaches can improve a team's floor far more than vice versa. I think, Erik, you said something really, really, like, prophetic, I would say, weeks ago maybe, where you said, has there ever been a bad coach to win a national championship? No. Not in the history of sports has there been a bad coach to win a national championship. But there have been a lot of average teams with great coaches that have won national championships, conference championships, divisions. You can get all the talent in the world. It has nothing to do with talent. Again, what'd you say? Jaden Quaintance, going to be a top 5 pick if he's fully healthy, right? Going to the league. Masamba Diop, probably going to the league in a year or two. Remy Martin, great talent. Trey Holder, great talent. Shannon Evans, great talent. Cody Justice, great talent. Lou Dort, great talent. Where's the great coaching? Because you had the talent. You had it. You had solid players. They may not have been all NBA league-wide players. They were good enough to get you into the NCAA tournament. I believe that. And a lot of those teams, their light flickered out, man.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on this, because I know we're using a lot of other sports, right? And I understand that
it's college though. They're realistically, it's again the same standard.
But what I'm saying, and I was going to make this point, DC Rapper jumped in the chat and said it first. A few years ago, TJ Otzelberger, great name, the Iowa State head coach, took a terrible Iowa State team to the NCAA tournament his first year. This is not an exclusive to other sports thing. In men's college basketball, we've seen it maybe more than any other sport that coaching matters, right? Look at the programs that are blue bloods. And I'm not saying Arizona State needs to be a blue blood, but look at the coaches that they've had. And then look at the programs that have kind of jumped into that conversation recently. Iowa State, TJ Otzelberger, right? Kelvin Sampson over at Houston, right? Like, these are 2 Big 12 examples of coaches that took over a program and completely molded it into their identity, and that identity led to wins. That's it, man. Like, I'm not saying Arizona State needs to go out there and be a blue blood and transform into a top 10 team. They just need to improve. They need to give hope. And Bobby Hurley is not a supplier of hope right now. That's just my last thing is I'm tired of being hopeless. I'm tired of going into a show talking about a win, and I always say what I'm feeling. Like I don't BS, right? I don't
it's a podcast.
Say what I
you
think,
shouldn't.
I don't say what I think people want to hear or what they like to hear. Sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't. I can't go into a show talking about a positive men's basketball development without saying something like, but I don't believe it's going to carry over, because I don't. And I'm sick of it. As a fan and as an analyst and somebody whose job it is to cover this, I am sick of having these conversations. It needs to change.
Bless you, Noah. It's as simple as this. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. You get good players, you coach them well, you win games. It really is that simple. And that's not just college sports. That is every level of sports, to where you have like little kids running around in helmets and shoulder pads. Get some good players, get some kids, some guys, some adults that love the sport, want to work, are open to coaching, they're coachable. You coach them, you teach them, you put in some sort of system, you win games. It really is that simple. And I know there are a lot of analysts and talking heads whose whole job is to tell you that it's much more difficult than that. Hell, sometimes we do. It really isn't. Good players, good coach, win a lot of games. That's going to do it, though, for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils Show. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review on your way out. If you enjoy or maybe don't enjoy the content, give the show a follow on social, X, Instagram, and TikTok at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow my passenger princess at Erik Ruby. That is Erik with a K. And we will see you on Thursday. But in the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.